Welcome to the MarTech Matrix, the podcast that cogently uncovers the business problems each tech company was built to solve. Today, Sean speaks with Abhijit Singh, co-founder and CEO of Apprew, a SaaS company that empowers brands to build and scale high-conversion mobile apps through a no-code platform. After the show, head on over to themartechmatrix.com for show notes, contact information, and details on upcoming episodes. Now, get ready to enter the Matrix.
Abhijit, welcome into the Matrix. How are you today?
So it's a great day. I'm just like, we closed few customers and it's a regular hustle, like get customers, make them successful with our product and make them feel about partnering with us. So yeah, so that has been the day.
Makes the day a little easier. At least makes it easier to go to sleep that night, right?
Yeah.
So before we jump into any kind of questioning, tell us what makes Apprew different from the thousands of agencies that build e-commerce apps for brands, and why should the listeners keep listening if their company already has an app?
So I tell you, like, what has been the fundamental philosophy before starting Apprew. We have been inspired by companies like Shopify and Klaviyo. So typically, before Shopify, there were thousands of agencies and there were few products which are solving for e-commerce. But fundamentally, what Shopify did was they democratized, which is like you have you have a platform on which you can reliably do e-commerce and which keeps upgrading itself with the need of the merchants. And typically, like it's about like arming the rebels, the way Toby says it. We believe the way e-commerce or the world is evolving, we need a channel, a high performance sales channel, which brands and the merchants globally need to have, where they can own the experience. So what differentiates Shopify? So they have the best of the engineers, they have learnings from thousands of the merchants, and they keep upgrading the tech stack regularly. So they are always ahead of the curve and it compounds. Similarly, of course, in our segment, probably we would be like 20th guys who are trying to solve. And there have been app builder tools, and there has been agencies too. What differentiates us is our philosophy of building a high performance sales channels. So we are not inventing the wheel, but we are making mobile experience 10x better. And how do we do that? We do that because we have our experience, the team experience. So I have been a marketing person and we have built large businesses on mobile apps. So I built a mobile gaming company that does like 200 million gross revenue and scaling very fast. And the learnings have been like app is a most consensual channel. And we were able to do all Pavlovian experiments with our users and get the great outcomes. And so that's the marketing DNA we have. When it comes to tech, our team has built tech stacks for Walmart. So we have built tech stacks for scale. So we are bringing then our marketing learnings as well as our tech learnings. And we want to democratize access to this tool to millions of merchants who are getting into uncertain future. So that has been our differentiation.
I like that. I think that gives me perspective because there certainly was a time when if you wanted to start an e-commerce business, the idea of building a website and running the e-com platform and processing payments was mind-boggling if you didn't have the experience or know-how. And Shopify certainly made that easier, but also more cost affordable, right? So are you saying that Apprew wants to be the Shopify of the app space? In other words, if you're a Shopify brand, in other words, you're a retailer that sells on the Shopify platform, you also should have an app experience through Apprew. Is that sort of your mantra, if you will?
I will say yes. So if typically, like, see, what are the major, there are three major things like macros which are happening. We are moving towards a cookieless world.
Hmm.
So first party data leverage is going away, which means marketeers are going to face a lot of unknowns. Second, Meta and Google are becoming more unpredictable. And how do I own our customers? Conventionally, the third thing, conventionally, emails have been a reliable channel and people have relied on them for their retention. Then SMS became very big. And what happened was that this email, the customers who are responding on emails moved to SMS. But the landscape has changed recently with new iOS updates and Google going behind spams. The impact of both of these channels is going down. And the impact is the CAC is going to go high further. The cost of retention is going higher, and retailers won't have a data. So they need to own a channel where they can have better customer experience, lower CAC, lower cost of retention, more data leverage.
Yep.
And app is the only platform which solves it consensually. And last not the least, and it's a very public data, your e-commerce customers increasingly, like more than 90% of customers are coming from mobile devices. So everything is pointing towards owning a sales channel by the brands or the retailers, and that to a native mobile.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the cookies. It's obviously a topic that comes up often on the podcast, especially in our last episode where we talked about Google's deprecation of cookies and how that's being controlled by an organization out of the UK and what that timing looks like. But the reality is 50% of users aren't on Chrome, so you don't have cookies on them anyway, and the rest will be without cookies soon enough. And there's this, I think maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe it's just an evolution of the internet. People want more personalization, not less. So it's interesting conundrum, right? Because they want personalization. They want those custom experiences, but they don't want to give up their data. And it's like, well, you can't personalize without the data. So brands have to figure out how to do that. And I like the idea of, hey, if you own a piece of real estate on my phone, you have this open access to me. You can push notifications to me. We can have a relationship. I can open you and close you very quickly, and it just makes it more like, I like what was the word that you used from a privacy perspective? You used the word there.
It's a very consensual relationship.
Consensual, yes. I like using that word here, because that privacy piece is becoming so important. And I'm with you on the email and SMS. There's just too much spam, and even if it's a good message, it gets lost. And SMS, I think there's, I'm kind of torn on SMS. I think that if it's something that I've subscribed to is one thing, but if I haven't, it's offensive, and I will report it as drunk. It's kind of my thing. But if I subscribe, then that's great. Like, I want your messages. So this is a great way for you and I to build a relationship. And if you're a brand, it shouldn't be about numbers, because if there are a lot of people that you have in your database that aren't buying, what's the point? But if you have a lower number of users that are high quality, that are buying, and higher percentage of purchasers and repeat customers, that should really be what's important. So you gave us some good background there, and I definitely have the perspective of where this app conversation fits in. What was the problem, like, when you set out to start the company? What was the specific problem you identified at that point that led you down this journey? What was the problem you were trying to solve for?
So, like, generally, like, I belong to a venture builder, so I had done like 0 to 1 journeys, and I had like two great co-founders even before jumping on in the idea. And we had like built tech stack, like mobile commerce, like we had done it multiple times, like both of my tech co-founders, and we were like exploring ideas, and we came across the apps of few of our competitors, and we have a lot of respect for them. Uh, we saw typically, like, we were exploring. So we had an e-commerce, like we had a growth experience, and we had an e-commerce experience. So we just saw a fundraise announcement, and we found it interesting. So we started opening the apps, like few of the top apps, and we're just evaluating, oh, is this a good idea? Like seems like a good idea. But when we checked the apps, all of the and they were like top brands, they looked the same. And like from perform like being a always 0 to 1 guy, I always needed to work on conversion rates. So you have always less money to grow the business. So if some users comes in, you have to ensure you need to ensure high conversion rates. So when we saw the apps, we were like, I was not motivated. Like, okay, this is an app, it's good, but is it optimized for conversion? That was the first question. And second, like the second problem was templatization. Every brand is a story. It's a unique story. Font, color, the way brands uh, learn about user experience on the website. It takes a lot of years to learn those things because customers like it.
Mhm.
That was not. So the point was, it's not like you needed to bring those elements in an app. It should be an app of a brand. It should sell the unique story, unique customer experience to the end consumer, and that was missing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
fundamentally, and the most important thing, we saw that a lot of integration. So typically, let's say a high throughput retailer will use a very high quality search platform to empower search. They will use a personalization engine. Even with the limited data on the web, they want to give the personalized experience. Just to give you a data, less than 1% of the users would log in. But yet, you want to personalize. Like brands wants to ensure on a web, like
Mhm.
Abhijit's experience needs to be different than Sean. And that can be done through a third party integration. Then all those loyalty, rewards, post purchase experience, like everything is done by third party integration. Currently, in current scenario, we have video shopping, experiential shopping through videos and other things. So all that needs to translate into app, giving you a native experience. All of that was missing. So we didn't feel good about it. Like having said that, like all three of us decided, can we build a platform which has scalable design system, which means it should reflect brand identity experience. Second, can we give a high throughput experience, which means all the integrations that are working in there, can we just bring it, translate it into the app? And we thought that if you're able to do it, the app will deliver delta, the delta which marketing teams aspire for. So it shouldn't be, it's like we didn't want to give an app to a brand. We wanted to give a high throughput channel to the marketing teams without them worrying about, will my tech work? Will my app work? Will I get the data? Will this app do justice to their customer experience? So building a product which matches the expectation of marketing team and deliver on the KPIs. So that has been the thought process. We were confident that we'll scale it up. So scalable design system, scalable integrations, and making product friendly to the marketing teams to
Yeah,
deliver.
let's dig in. I wanted to go into the integrations piece because I think that's a huge component for anyone to understand Shopify, right? Anyone that has a store on Shopify, being able to go into their app marketplace and just one click and install a solution, whether it be analytics or video or loyalty or whatever it is, it makes life so much easier for everyone. Is that the kind of ecosystem you're trying to build in the app world, where if I have an app, I can go, oh, I want to do I want to launch a loyalty program, and I just click whatever loyalty app I want, and boom, it integrates with my platform. Is that kind of where you guys are at or headed?
That has been the aspiration. The great thing about Shopify has been that democratized problem solving by independent developers. So there can be one guy which is passionate about solving search. There's another team which is passionate about solving personalization. There is a third team which is passionate about loyalty. They will make the best of the product. And Shopify just assimilates them at one place. The problem previously, and you asked a question like, how are we different? The problem previously was that all those integrations were not natively working in an app. Some places people will just use web views because it was very hard to do it. And the problem was legacy tech stack. It's very hard to like transform that. Like, it's very hard to translate years of learning within a short period of time to give that in the form of a native experience. So this is what we solved. We built scalable integration. So we chose a tech stack through which we were able to do that. And it requires a lot of iterations, and we keep doing it. Just to give you a context, any one of our competitors would have like 10, 15 native integrations, maximum 20. They may claim a lot, but this is the size. We being a 2-year-old company, and like it has been an year to launch our product, we have 70 plus integration, and every month we keep adding new ones as well as upgrading the older one.
Yeah, that's key. So since we've talked a lot about Shopify and how good of an experience that can be for a website, what makes the app better than, say, a Shopify website for mobile? In other words, if I just access my website, I assume that they're mobile optimized. Is the app better than a mobile web experience?
Yes. So fundamentally, it's by tech. So one example is a mobile website can take anywhere from 8 seconds to 12 seconds from download to interact. So every time you upload a landing page or a browser website, that's the time it takes. On app, it's less than 3 seconds because your data is cached there. So it's a very basic thing. Like if you optimize the load time, conversion rates will increase, experience enhances. That's one leverage, which is due to tech. And it was always browser versus native. Thanks to Apple and Google's investment in building those native App Store and the Play Store and the native ecosystem. So every year, it's just becoming better. So that's one fundamental difference. The second fundamental difference is data leverage. Just to give you a data, and it's our data across the brands. On web, the number of users who are coming in and the number of users who are signing in is less than 1%. For a few brands, it might be 2-3%, depending on the conversion rates. Generally, the people who buy the login, they share their data.
Mm-hmm.
In app, we see 20 to 40% of the users log in. So we have brands where without optimizing a flow, we have seen 55% of the users are logging in, which means even if, let's say, 100 people download our app and let's say 5 people purchase, there are 50 other people for that brand who have shared their email IDs or phone numbers to them. And
Right.
imagine the data leverage the brand has. Now they can use this data for their email marketing. They can use this data for running custom audiences on the Meta. They can use this data to run lookalike campaigns. So multiple data leverage points. The second interesting insight is, the buyers who purchased, what's their behavior have been. And you also have the data of the users who didn't purchase. Probably you can build the journeys for the users who didn't purchase, but yet did add to cart.
Yep.
You can just reach out to them, have a qualitative insight. So that's the kind of a data leverage I'm talking about when you have an app.
Yeah, it's the relationship building we always talk about. What about on the back end? If let's just say I'm an e-commerce brand, I've got a website on Shopify or anywhere else, and I want to launch an app, and I work with Apprew and I build the app. How do I? And maybe this is a silly question, or maybe it's a simple answer. How do I make sure that my store, like when someone's on my app and they're shopping and they're clicking and adding to cart and they check out, it all syncs up with my e-com platform, like whatever my e-com platform is for the website. That's where my inventory is being managed, my billing's happening, all of that.
So typically for platforms like Shopify, Magento, Salesforce, these brands, like these platforms, have APIs, storefront APIs. And basis those storefront APIs, we built the native app. So your inventory, your inventory data, pricing, product information management, everything is in sync with your app in a real time. So we use React Native like templates to build the all app components, but the backend is in sync with Shopify, Salesforce, Magento, whatever the like tech platforms we use.
Okay.
And basis that, everything is in real time.
Okay.
It
So
is
it's easy.
it is 100% as efficient as the web. So everything is in sync. You don't have to manage two channels differently, or you don't have to invest any resource to do that. It has to be seamless. Like if a brand is launching an app, they should be looking at ROI. They should be looking at how they can impact their core KPIs in terms of customer acquisition cost, retention, engagement, and more data, rather than thinking about, oh, will this would be in sync or not? Will that thing will? So for that, like, we have solved.
Yeah. I'm just curious as a user, do you have any apps or have you thought about the idea of like, if I'm an e-commerce business, but I also have a physical store, right?
Mhm.
And I walk into your store, I want to know like what inventory you have, or I'm looking for something specific. Are there features that are more easily to integrate today that allow me to sort of navigate almost like a Google Maps for the store?
Oh, so I'll take a step back, and typically I'll just try to talk about how app is impacting omnichannel commerce. So typically brands, like if they are DTC brands, they are going offline, they're opening their exclusive brand
Right.
outlets. Or even if the bigger brands, the retail chains are competing against like Temu, Shein, and other places. And there's a lot of price wars. So how do we empower brands to fight against them, even if you're an omnichannel brand? So first thing, users browse digitally, but they spend offline. Most of the cases because they want to wear it, they want to see it, but they browse a lot. So basic behavior, I'll give you one example. Brands are leveraging their browse data for their merchandise. So on app, the engagement time is typically 5x, which means you see 5x more products. You don't only see products, you see click-through rates. You see click-through purchase rates. And this data is much more potent, high intent than your web. This data can be used to decide merchandising. One, in the store, which will help in increase higher throughput. Second, if I purchase something online and the loyalty reward point is integrated with an offline POS, users can go buy offline. Third, it can happen if I go and if I like something in an offline store, but it's not available there, I can just buy on an app. The second logic is, of course, you can also buy on the web also. But point is, if I have an app, if I come back, I will keep the app, and there's a probability I'll end up buying something more. It won't happen in website. There's a lot of interest competing. Fourth, and we learned it from other marketplaces, like when you have an app and person browses through it, you are not competing with any third party regarding prices. It's more about what I like. Of course, people will look for discount. I'm not saying not look for discount, but if in there there's a low probability that they'll go down, compare prices someplace else. So you have captive audience. So like the app is as good as what I call is exclusive brand outlets, EBUs.
Yeah. I've always thought that those retailers should use the app as a clerk, right? As a store associate, right? So store associates aren't what they used to be, right? You used to be able to walk into Nordstrom and somebody would come over to you and help you find something and then match it to, here's your pants, here's your shirt, here's your shoes, your belt. They put your shoes on for you if you're trying to choose. That doesn't happen anymore. The experience is lacking. So it's up to the consumer to sort of control their own journey. If I could go into a Nordstrom, as an example, and open up my app and, click on the pair of pants that I'm looking at that I'm going to buy. Well, I want some recommendations for what shirts, shoes, and belts I should buy with it. For me, that's an amazing opportunity for the retailer, or in this case, Nordstrom, to promote products to me, whether it's the same brand as the pants I was looking at, or just another brand that maybe is paying them, almost like a retail media play, or just to create a better experience for me, right? You're smiling. Is that something that you're working on, or tell me why you're smiling?
We already have this.
You
So
do?
we have this feature, and I'll tell you how this impacts the customer lifetime value for an omni-channel retailer. So let's say you go into Macy's or a Nordstrom. You enter in there, you see clothes. Okay. So we have a feature built in, again, using third-party integration in the app. Probably we would be the first in Shopify ecosystem to do that. So what you do is, like, let's say this is my Tommy t-shirt. I just took a photograph. Once I take a photograph, I have a photograph. It will show me recommended similar t-shirts. So we enabled something in an app called native image search. So we have now you have an image search. So that is the one thing I wanted to buy. Probably I will buy it. But the second thing is, once you have that t-shirt, you can use algos to recommend a pant, a belt, a wallet. So you just click on this on the PDP page and you say, you may like it.
Mhm.
And these products are probably, those products they are brand's products. They are, like, let's say, the retailer's product. But they might be in a store, they might not be in a store. But who's stopping them from ordering online? So you end up selling a t-shirt, but you can sold the accessories, even if that's not in the current physical location.
Yeah.
And you extended the customer relationship beyond the store.
Yeah. And you got data that you wouldn't get otherwise. You got the shirt picture that he took. How would you know what he was even looking at if it was in the physical store? Now he's telling you, this is the shirt that I'm looking at. Help me.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. How does a brand know when they're ready for an app? Like, is it for everybody that does e-commerce, or is there a certain threshold, revenue, users? Like, how do you determine if you're a brand when they're ready to invest in building an app?
Very simple. So typically, we believe the brands, see, the larger the brand, there are multiple use cases, greater the impact. Typical personas or the brand profiles we look for, where we have case studies. Fashion. So typically a brand have a PMF, which means they have solved for their paid marketing, profitable. So one is like, there is legacy brands. They have millions of organic searches. They have brand loyalty. If they launch an app, they get zillions of data, and which helps them compete against new age brands. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the new emerging brands which are coming in. So, like, for legacy retailers or the brands, app gives them a data leverage, which DTC brands have. For new age brands, typically like the brand doing 3 to 5 mil to start with. They have solved for their paid marketing. They have a PMF, good customer satisfaction. And typically if it starts working out, your customer acquisition cost would increase with scale. And that is the time you should start thinking about that. So let's say impulse-based categories, fashion, jewelry, like apparel, jewelry, then lifestyle. So this is one is impulse. Second is repeat categories, like where, let's say, nutraceuticals, personal care, where there is a frequency once or twice in a month. You need reorder functionalities or strong subscription play, where you need to manage your subscription. So we have very deeper integration with all large subscription players in the market. So one is impulse-based category. There is intent-based categories, I will call. And third is again like where decision-making is involved, where wish listing is important. High frequency. So you wish list and then you decide or you compare. So these are the three categories where app works best. And typically the app and the personalization use cases kick in together more than 30 or 50 SKUs. This is the typical persona.
So you make it sound pretty easy once a brand says, okay, I want to build an app to come to Apprew. You have all these plugins. They can be really easy to hook up arms and partners. How difficult or easy is it? I'm coming in cold. I have a store, I have an e-commerce business. I'm making $10 million a year. How easy is it to build your initial?
See, if you're now platforms like Shopify, if you're doing 10 mil, typically, and we launch apps in like 2 weeks. So standard time, anywhere from 7 to 2 weeks, we can launch an app.
Wow.
But
let me ask you this way. That's really fast. So what does the brand need to know? Do they need how to code? Do they need to have developers involved? Is this the marketing person that runs it? Like, what does that look like from start to finish?
so typically, the way we have built the platform, you don't need any coding. You don't need any coding talent, and we work best with the marketing person, the marketing teams. They are the decision makers. So we work with marketing teams directly. Second, they just need to share their design expectations. They need to share the integrations which are working. They need to share if there are any specific brand experience which matters to their customers. These are the details which we require, typically 2-3 hours. I'm just talking about a 10 mil brand.
Yeah.
Where so once they share it, probably we should be able to give them the first version of app in 14 days. And of course, if there is further customization and other things, it would take a week or two more. But yeah, like 15 to 30 days, we should be able to give them
What
the
do you
app. They should be able to launch that.
what are you building off? In other words, if there's no code, are you looking at their website? Are they uploading their brand guidelines? Like, how do you build it to their brand?
Great question. So typically we share a design form where we take specific details about the brand, font, color, the UI design which they prefer. They can just choose those things. They can even share. It is not necessary that your app needs to be copy your website. Probably they can have an aspiration. They want Zara kind of an experience or a Mango kind of experience. They can just give this in the feedback. And we have tokenized this design system. We are able to generate a design basis that feedback. And in some brands, they want to like engage there in the design part also. But once we have that, and then there is an integration form where they share a set of integration, how it works. Like it's like a 30 to 45 minute work. That's it.
Hmm.
And we will be sharing the first version of an app for the marketing team to test and share the feedback. And
Interesting.
we incorporate the feedback and we launch that.
So if anyone's considering building an app, you can have one well before the holidays. What if a brand already has an app? How does that transition work from their existing app to their new app? Do you start from scratch and then just throw away the old app? How do you connect all the old historical data? Like, how does that migration work?
So our success with the brands who already have an app has been better.
Okay.
Their outcome has been better with us. They get better higher. So first of all, brand naturally brands naturally see it's like apps naturally deliver an outcome for brands. A brand having an app, they already know the benefits. The point is how much value they can extract out of an app. So like typically what we do an app audit and we tell them, oh, these are the places where if you fix those things, your conversion rates will increase, your AOVs can increase, and these are the data points which you are not getting. If we fix that, you'll get that data leverage and you can just start using it for acquisition and retention. So those fundamentals, once we do an app audit, we can just tell them. And typically we have switched brands having more than $2 to $5 million. That's the kind of scale we have switched. Brands do not harm. So do the brands lose customers when they switch from other app partners to us? No. They do not lose any customers. Do they lose business? No, they do not. How we do it is like we upload new app build as per the brand requirement on the previous app build. So the users get the new app as just as a new app update. That's it.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, and we assist them. So, and it's not all of a sudden. First, we share the app with the brand team. If there isn't a feedback, we take it. Second is we release it to first 10% of the users, and we see that user behavior. If there is any further feedback, we incorporate, and then we release that. Typically, if it's a large brand, very large brand, it might take 30 to 45 days, but generally we are able to switch them in a month, all of the users.
Okay. We talked about different size companies today. what would you consider your ICP if I'm a retailer or e-commerce brand looking at my annual revenue? Let's use revenue as the number. Is it 2 million to a billion? Is it 2 million to 10 million? Like where's your sweet spot at Apprew?
I think our sweet spot is anywhere from the DTC revenue is anywhere from 5 to 100 mil.
5 to 100 million. Okay.
5 to 100 mil. We have all of those customers with us. We are catering to 50 million plus DTC brands. We're catering to 20 million DTC brands, and they're getting excellent outcome. So 5 to 100 million would be our sweet spot. But if they are on Shopify, even they're doing 200 million, game on. We have delivered. Like brands with us do like 70% of the revenue on that. And just to give you a context here, fashion brands switched from another app provider. Their contribution increased from 25% to 70% within 3 months. The conversion rate bump they saw was 40% on the app. All those things. Anyways.
Okay. What if you're not on Shopify? Does that matter?
As of now, we like to build the product in the first 2 years of our journey. We stick to Shopify, but if it's a large brand and we can work with that. Typically, like platforms. So generally, we work with platforms. Our sweet spot is Shopify, but in future we'll open up to new.
Okay, but that's going to be a good way to wrap the show up. So in the next 60 seconds, tell us what the long-term vision is for Apprew. Where is Apprew going? I understand right now it's primarily Shopify up to $100 million, but as a product, where do you see the company going over the next 5 years?
So we always believe that we are a storefront company. We are not an app company, and we are solving for mobile storefront. So currently we are focused on giving a high performing sales channel to the brands. And with learnings, with AI coming in, we want to build native interfaces like hyper personalized shopping. Like now AI can generate those templates, which is like my shopping screen should be different from yours and yours should be different from somebody else. So based on those learnings, like bringing in new tech to further zazz up the storefront. So we want to be a storefront company and keep giving, our vision has been there are companies like, let's say Amazon, they're large marketplaces and they have solved for marketplace. Making those technologies, making those storefront experience, taking it to individual brands globally, giving that tech in their hand so they can fight it out. They can fight it out against the walls. So that has been our vision and we would continue working on that. And with evolution of new tech, we'll be incorporating those tech to make the shopping, to give best of mobile shopping experience.
That's a good place to wrap it. I think if I had to sum it up, I think that any belief that building an app is an expensive and time-consuming process that has a lot of risk, I think it sounds like Apprew is taking that off the table and making it more affordable or accessible, I guess is the better word, for brands of all sizes. And I think that's amazing. And that's what we're all about on this show. Abhijit, thank you for being inside the Matrix, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Great.
This episode of the MarTech Matrix was brought to you by the Cogent Collective, a community of marketing and e-commerce leaders. Learn more at cogentcollective.com. For show notes and information on upcoming episodes, head on over to the martechmatrix.com. If you would like to learn more about the companies appearing on this podcast and see if they're a good fit for your company, send Sean a note at sean@cogentcollective.com. New episodes of the MarTech Matrix podcast will drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast network so you can stay on top of what's happening in the Matrix.